Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers, driven by your Southern California Honda dealers. I'm Chris McGee, Robert Ory, James Worthy, Mike Bresnahan. We got Allie Clifton will be joining us a little later in the show. Mike Trudell will be handling the post-game interviews. The Lakers start the season 0-2. They are embarrassed at home by the Phoenix Suns. End of the first, the Lakers were up 3 points. Over the next two quarters, they're up 3 points. Great game, competitive. Over the next two quarters, they're outscored 71-41. They got down by as many as 32 points at home, Rob. In the paint, points in the paint, this is kind of a crazy stat, 52-26 in favor of the Suns. It was 48-12 after three. Of course, Dwight and AD had a little altercation that we saw during that second quarter. We'll get into that a little later on in the show. And I'll say this, you open the season against two really good teams. There's no room for error, Rob. And the Lakers, offensively, defensively, just not looking cohesive yet. Where do you want to start?
You know, I want to start where, first of all, people are doubting this Phoenix Suns team. You know, they think it was a fluke that they were one of the best teams in the West. They're a good team. Chris Paul has taken his team to another level. And Devin Booker is one of the rising stars in this league. He's probably one of the second or third best shooter in this game. And if you look at the way the Lakers played tonight, they tried to match what the Phoenix Suns were doing. You take a three, you make one, so I'm going to try to match that. And that's why you look at the score and you say, okay, what happened? We try to match the threes, and what they're doing, they're getting offensive rebounds. They're getting second shots. So the Lakers probably got like, 4 points from second shots or something like that. And so you have to get those extra shots when you're not knocking down threes. And then also what hurt them also was when LeBron got his third foul and he wasn't aggressive enough.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. The Suns, it's not by accident that you go to the NBA Finals and you have a 2-game lead. They also defend, great spacing. They can shoot. They have a nice bench. Big Game James, where do you want to begin with this Lakers team?
I mean, it's simple. The Lakers have a lot of work to do. I mean, obviously, we know they got new faces. They got to gel and do all this stuff. But to me, that has to happen for offensive coordination and continuity. Defensively, there's no excuse for this. And there's no excuse to be getting, outscored in the paint the way they have. Those are just basic effort things. Offensively, I can see where Westbrook might have some time to gel and all that, but they have yet to really finish their training camp, and it's showing up in these games. So, I think they'll figure it out. It's pretty ugly right now, and Coach Vogel said it's going to take some time. Got some players out, all that, but it's no excuse to play the defense the way they were outmaneuvered, outscored, Ayton in the paint, offensive rebounds, no resistance. So they're going to have to take a strong look in the mirror and say, okay, we know we had training camp and all that, but this is unacceptable the way we're playing at home on the defense.
And James, you are used to seeing the last 2 years where the defense was a top defense in the league. It was versatile. They were able to switch and do a lot of different things scheming-wise. I just don't know yet what this team's going to look like on that side of the ball.
Yeah, the points in the paint thing is really a stunner to me. I mean, it was really bad through 3 quarters. Lakers kind of turned it around late. But I have a couple questions. I mean, what do you do at center? DeAndre Jordan, 2 points, played only 10 minutes. Dwight Howard scoreless, did not play in the second half. Maybe, Frank Vogel says, all right, now's the time. AD, you're the starting center. Their next game is in San Antonio in a couple days. I'm not making moves for Frank, but, maybe it's time to put stuff on the table. And maybe it's time to kind of reconfigure the outlook of this team, the aura of this team. Also, got to talk about the words that were exchanged between AD and Dwight towards the end of the second quarter. Unfortunately for the Lakers, it was very public. It was on their bench. A lot of these things that I've covered over the years, it happens in the locker room, and it has to leak out a day or two later. This was very public, and this will be the headline. Lakers kind of internally uncomfortable, and also the score, their first 2 games, obviously not in their favor at all.
I mean, listen, we all know, everyone played sports, you hit on the head. It's very public. I mean, I on that big
Thank
fella.
you very much. Get the big shot
fella.
clap.
Big
Got
fella.
the big shot clap.
Big fella. We got Allie and Brez. They're going to join us in a little bit. We got Mike Trudell giving us the latest. That's coming up in a few moments. But guys, I hate to do it, but this is what we got to start with. Injury. THT is out with a thumb. Be reevaluated in what, 3 weeks? Ariza, he's out for a couple of months. Wayne Ellington out, hamstring, and this is the one that got me. Kendrick Nunn out, reevaluated 3 weeks from now for a new injury. Bone bruise in the right knee. I'm going to breathe, big shot and big game. Not ready for these kind of reports, but this is a big one. He's needed, and we just have not gotten to see him enough in the preseason. And just per reports of how well he was playing in camp. So this one hurts a little bit.
Yeah, very unfortunate. You would think after the last 2 years, coming out of the bubble, difficult 71-day turnaround, a quick season, a lot of injuries occurred, because the bodies just didn't have a chance to recuperate. And I don't know that for sure, but I think a lot of those injuries happen because of that. And, just when you think you're ready to get a good season, a good, full, healthy season, you have, 4 players going down, particularly Nunn, who a lot of people thought was going to be a defensive, guy who could come in and play tough defense and also create his own shot. When he gets hot from 3, he can knock him down. He was going to be a big addition. So not to take anything away from Ellington, of course. And, of course, we know Tucker with the thumb. We know how valuable he is. And not to have, those guys at the beginning of the season when you're trying to gel, when everyone's trying to still learn one another, it really sets them back just a little bit. So it's difficult. They got enough, I think, to make up for it. But it's still tough when you're missing those guys early.
I don't think we plan on losing youth early on, Rob, right? Like THT and Kendrick Nunn. I just wasn't banking on that,
It's weird that everybody this offseason was talking about the Lakers' age and them staying healthy.
How old they are.
And here you are, the young guys are the ones who get injured. But sometimes, old guys have been through the battle so much that these injuries don't happen like they think they have because their body is used to the pounding, their bodies are used to the crazy schedule. So these young guys are the ones that sometimes get injured on freak accidents because their bodies haven't adhere to all the punishment it has to take. So for me, I look at Nunn being out as one of those guys that you can provide instant offense. I thought him and Monk coming off the bench would be 2 young guys. They can give you a lot of energy because sometimes when you're an older guy, you need that spark plug in the young guy to push you over there. I know Westbrook is one of those guys who really don't need one, but I'm talking about AD. I'm talking about DJ. I'm talking about all these guys we use initials to call them out on this show.
Yeah, the other thing that I don't like about his injury is that they're going to reevaluate. It's not like he'll be back in 3 to 4 weeks. They're just going to reevaluate. And I don't know what that means, reevaluate whether he can start something. And so we'll keep an eye on that. I think he's young enough to recover quickly, and I hope that's the case.
A big story from Tuesday night was the big 3 debuting together for the first time in the regular season. Of course, LeBron and AD combined for 67 points. But Russell Westbrook did not fare so well. 8 points, guys, in his debut. Frank Vogel mentioned at practice yesterday, Rob, that he needs to do a better job of getting him going. What does that look like in your eyes? What do you think he needs?
For me, I look at this team, and coaches sometimes want to take the blame, but sometimes it's on your teammates too. Because as a teammate, when we see guys struggling, it's like, yo, man, we need to get him going. Let's get him in rock. Let's get him in position to be successful. And that's what your teammates always have to do, not just your coaches, because when you're on a team like this with a lot of vets, you've recognized situations. You've seen almost every situation. So it's up to you also to try to get a guy involved. Because sometimes when guys like, okay, let's put Westbrook on the block. And they did that one time to get him a shot, but it was a little late in the game. So I think Westbrook should just grab the rebound and just push it. Because if he pushes it and tells everybody to get to the corners, if I don't have something, kick it out to you. Like every 3rd or 4th possession, he says, I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, there were spurts where the team was playing with a really fast pace and they looked good.
Yeah, no question. He's a guy that, can rebound and start to break. But, whenever you bring in a specialist, you bring in a 3-point shooter, that's what he does. And you're going to get the ball to him, he can knock down the threes. Some guys block shots. They're specialists at that. You bring them in, that's what they do. Westbrook is a ball handler. He makes things happen when he has the ball in his hand. So you have to, know when he's coming in that he's going to have to